Welcome back to Cowpark Bros. We are fresh off the subject of back to school implications for local municipalities and the nation at large. But now, on to something, frankly, not as optimistic. And that is the interactions of one Deshaun Quagmire Watson III. I told you he was going to get more than 6 games, dog.
Bro, you were saying he wasn't going to play at all this year, and I told you that wasn't going to happen. And what I said was, yeah, he can get his suspension increased, but I don't see how it's going to go from 6 to 17. But there's some stuff we're going to point out about that. But I'll let you jump back in there. Go ahead.
Well, I think the perfect idea behind a compromise, that means nobody's happy, because that means nobody got took. Everybody. Deshaun Watson probably should have gotten more, but he won't.
And why? No. What? No. Let's go. Let's go ahead and go. Why? Why are you saying he probably should have got more? You're saying he should have got more.
Stop. Since we're clearly in the middle on this one, that's my perspective, and I'm not going to continue to explain ad nauseum. Well, I think he should have gotten more. The reality is, a decision was made between the National Football League and the National Football League Players Association, right? And so what I'm saying is this. From some people's perspective, this co-host specifically, and everyone else generically, a lot of people generically, Deshaun Watson probably should have gotten more games. For some other people's perspective, Deshaun Watson shouldn't have gotten any games. Guess what? We split the difference. Deshaun Watson is suspended for the first 11 games of this regular season without pay, and he's fined $5 million. Now, that's a drop in the fucking bucket for that 100% guaranteed contract by the Cleveland Browns. And so this is effectively, after talking about this all off season, this is the final deal. And I think, well, clearly Deshaun Watson knew the writing was on the wall. And he said, hey, maybe I bite the bullet on these 11 games and call it a day. Because it could have gone the other way. So that's just my first take. Jason, what are your thoughts?
So I was kind of surprised, to be honest with you, at the settlement, because, like I was mentioning, when we talked about it 2 weeks ago, recognizing that there was going to be an appeal by the NFL, that yes, there's a possibility that his game suspension could increase above the 6 that he was initially given. But I didn't see, based off what was, supposedly allowed to be presented during the appeal process, which is nothing new, was wondering how that's going to go from 6 games to 17, like you were saying that he should get. And what the NFL was hoping to get him an indefinite suspension to where he can come back possibly after the end of the year. So I'm surprised mostly that the NFLPA decided to even do any kind of settlement because, well, they settled on 11 games. So it makes me think if they settled, that means they had some suspicion that he could have gotten more than 11. I'm very not, which is fine if you think that, but I'm wondering what information that was already heard that can only be used in this appeal process could they have, could they have thought, hey, you know what, man, hey, because of this, we might have to do a settlement because you might get the whole 17 or longer. So it's what it is. He's going to have 11 games. I believe that's going to be starting here pretty soon before the team plays their first game in the regular season. And we'll talk about who they're playing in that time frame. But that's kind of where I'm at with this. It's more kind of surprised that they even did a settlement at all. And the fact that they even did it before the appeal process even started, the appeal trial even started too, that even kind of threw me off too. So they must have known something before all this stuff happened. Because usually when settlements happen, sometimes it might, like in a court of law, where I know this is not, the trial might start and they say, you know what, man, this ain't going well for me. Let me make a plea deal if I still can. And that's kind of what this seems like. Like I don't want to get I don't want to face the full brunt of what I can get. I'm not going to get some time here, so let me go and make this negotiation and settlement so I can move on. So, but it is what it is. He's getting 11. I can kind of see people like you thinking that he should have gotten more. I mean, this is 24 women we're talking about, allegedly at least, because again, he wasn't convicted in the court of law because he settled that too. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised by a settlement because apparently that's what he's used to. So, but here we are. What else you got on this? I know you got more. Wait, what's your brown shirt you got on? The orange brown.
I mean, I'm relieved that it's not 6. I'm relieved that it's not 6. I and I'm relieved for personal reasons that it's not 6. And and because this was a settlement, there's a whole bunch of stuff that is never going to see the light of day. Like, for example, can he I know there was a mandate that his massage therapy be limited to team approved massage therapists for the rest of his career. I don't know if that's actually like in there. I also know that at one point it was a $10 million fine on the table, and I know on some level a $10 million fine when the man's making 200 and 200 plus may seem like it's nothing, but it is something because, well, frankly, this has been so egregious. They kind of had to make an example out of him.
And real quick to that point, this is the largest suspension they've ever given when it comes to their personal conduct policy from the NFL. So even though it's not the full weight of what they wanted, it's still the most they've ever given out to anybody. So,
and I think that's important because you almost have to. And I'm not saying that it needs to be a life sentence. I'm not saying that Deshaun Watson shouldn't make a living. I'm saying you have to make it clear that, I mean, this is practically all. This is almost what 3/4 of a season.
basically, yeah.
I mean, you lose half a season for popping steroids in baseball.
Well, we won't go into that today, but yeah, I'm also reading here too that which makes no sense, but the NFLPA apparently rejected a 12-game suspension offer, which like you mentioned, accompanied that $10 million fine. So that's probably why they really rejected that 12-game suspension because one game was one game, but that $5 million, which in itself even sounds kind of stupid as well, because again, you're making 200 something million. What's another 5 mil? But I guess when you're greedy, you're greedy. But some of the wording here I also found kind of interesting too, is that NFL disciplinary officer Sue L. Robinson, who was jointly appointed by the NFL and NFLPA, had imposed on Watson. Robinson found Watson in violation by engaging in sexual assault conduct that poses a genuine danger to the safety and well-being of another person, and conduct that undermines or puts at risk the integrity of the NFL in her 16-page ruling. And I still find that interesting. Again, I'm not saying they're wrong. The fact that, again, he wasn't convicted by law of any sexual assault or anything else, but they're saying that, hey, we don't care what the court says. We think you're guilty of this, so we're going to do this. It's kind of like when we talked about Trevor Bauer some episodes back when he got his 2-year suspension from the MLB for his sexual assault issues, even though he also wasn't convicted in court of law. Actually, he was found not guilty. So go figure. So I find that interesting that even though he wasn't convicted of this stuff, they still, in their ruling, said, hey, we still think you did it based off the evidence or whatever. Just because you didn't go to trial doesn't mean you didn't do it. So, but now another thing I do want to point out, though, real quick, is that another condition of his suspension is that he must undergo a mandatory evaluation by behavioral experts and follow their treatment plan. So that's a good thing because that's I don't want to use the word pretend, but let's say that Deshaun Watson actually committed these crimes that he's accused of, all 24 of them, or 24 plus. That does seem to indicate that that's somebody that has a problem. Whether they be prostitutes who's doing this too, massage therapists, doesn't matter. You do that at 24 people, you might have a problem. So the fact that they at least said, hey, you're suspended, you're fined, but in addition to this, you're going to have to do this too because we want to make sure you don't have a problem. Now, I'm not sure what the evaluation includes or entails. You can probably assume stuff. You can look into it, whatever the NFL does. Not sure what their treatment plan is. Not sure how you treat those things. I'd be very interested for that part if I can get any details on that. But I actually really more so applauded that as opposed to their suspension or their fine. So I feel like that's more important because them suspending him for 11 games or even if he got 17 or indefinite suspension, it wouldn't matter if he's still out doing the same stuff to other people. You know what I mean? Because he wasn't convicted in a court of law, so he's not going to jail, which means he can still do this stuff to somebody else. Now, granted, he can still do that even if he's getting treatment for it. But at least and I'm not saying the NFL is doing this for show, but at least the NFL can show that, hey, we're not just about the football part of it. We want to make this person a good person. Well, at least for when it comes to that type of stuff. So.
Yeah, I don't think they're about trying to make him a good person. I think this is about protecting the image of the league. You know,
well,
that old adage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm effectively saying this last stand about this conduct because maybe criminally he'll never be convicted, but morally he's on the chopping block. And so if you can't stand up to this guy and the people that have been protecting him, the last 17 months or what have you, and that kind of, includes the Players Association to an extent, then, and ultimately the Players Association, they want to protect the players, but they also have to keep in mind, the Players Association doesn't just represent Deshaun Watson. They represent every player in the National Football League. And so it's a bad look if they let him get a pass on this. Because their rep is on the line too. The league is on the line. The Players Association. It does make this whole contract kind of stink to high hell, though, because he's not giving up any of his signing bonus money.
I know the teams were complaining about that or whatever. They thought it was kind of shady or whatever terminology they want to use. But my thought is it shady business or was it smart way to construct the money?
I mean,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Both things can be true. I'm saying, was that crafted in such a way to make it so that the Browns wouldn't really? I mean, it is. His base salary is not even $1.1 million.
Hey, listen. So it's also possible too that Deshaun Watson and his agent went into the Browns and said, "Hey, look, this is the deal we're gonna want. This is the deal we're gonna get, and this is the deal you're gonna give me." And if you're the Browns, you gonna say no to that?
If I know, if I know that the guy that I just signed for $200 million, it depends on what the Browns knew and when. That's the point.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's what they knew at all. They knew he was going to get suspended. I mean, that's really all they need to know.
And so your question was, if I was running the Cleveland Browns, would I have done this deal? No. Because you've this has basically been the story of your team. Like, nobody's talking football right now.
Hey, hang on, question. So you're saying you wouldn't have done that particular deal, or you wouldn't have signed Deshaun Watson at all?
I would not have done this deal, no, if I knew that this suspension was coming.
I mean, well, anybody. Well, I would have said for any team that would have signed him because he was going to get suspended. Everybody knew that.
Right.
I
But what
just
I'm
didn't know how
saying
many
is,
games.
right. But what I'm saying is, if I were running the Cleveland Browns, I wouldn't. And that's okay because I get to run this hypothetical saying, well, if I was the GM of a team or of an owner, would I want this deal? I also have the gift of foresight, or hindsight rather, because we're looking
Mhm.
back. We're looking back 17 months ago. I personally wouldn't do it because at this point, okay, you got 5 games left in the season, right? When he gets back.
Six.
I mean, whatever. Let's not split hairs here.
Hey, math, bro. Math. We just had a segment about education, sir. Do math.
Well, yet another reason that that neither one of us motherfuckers need to be teaching in Florida. That what is he really going to do for you with that 5 games?
See, this goes beyond those 5 games. So how many years was his contract? It's definitely more than just this year. I mean, football wise, obviously they weren't happy with Baker Mayfield, which is why he's in somewhere, Carolina, I think, or whatever. So this is their chance to upgrade in their opinion.
Can't upgrade a motherfucker that don't play. I'm just saying.
Again, 1 year. If you want to commit that this year's probably going to be very good anyway, based on whatever, then take a L. We'll see what happens in those 5 games. If not, what? Then the following year, guess what? Now he's back to playing full season in a division that's probably going to be pretty weak in general. So again, not to get too far away from the main topic, but I was going to bring up their schedule anyway. So we can talk about game stuff as well. But as far as the contract, if you're the Browns, like you talk about the NFLs, worry about their image and stuff like that. What do the Browns have to worry about? Winning, correct? And if you didn't think Baker Mayfield can get you a chance of winning, but here's Deshaun Watson coming to your team, and you feel like Deshaun Watson is a great quarterback, you just need to be on a better team. Certainly the Browns are better than the Texans. Speaking of which, guess who Deshaun Watson's first game is going to be against in week 13?
Yeah, I saw that.
The Texans. So real quick. So the first 11 games of the Browns schedule is at Carolina, home versus Jets, home versus Steelers, at Falcons, home at Chargers, home at New England, at Baltimore, home at Cincinnati, at Miami, at Buffalo, home against Tampa Bay. Probably going to go 3-8 in those games, which is what it is. Obviously, that's based on how those teams did last year, which can always change. And it's football, you never know. But my early prediction, folks, is the Browns are going 3-8 in those first 11 games that he doesn't play. So, and do the math after that, they can still have a winning record if they win out when he comes back. But yeah, so Jacoby Brissett, according to their depth chart, is probably going to be their starter in the meantime. So we'll see what happens with that. But that's kind of the rundown of how things are going to play out probably in those 11 games.
Yeah, I predict that the Browns will go and giggity.
No, we got the joke. We got that.
So yeah, I don't give a damn about what this record is. To me, it all matters about will it actually be worth it all in the end. And listen, I really hope that Deshaun Watson gets the help that he needs and that he frankly deserves. If not for his sake, for the rest of our sakes.
Well, last point, it's not even about him getting the help he needs. It's all about him taking it seriously. Because again, he's going to be in that program that they're going to put him in, but if he doesn't take it seriously, it doesn't matter.
True that. All right. That concludes our segment on Deshaun Quagmire Watson. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about road trips and rip tips on Cal Park Bros.